What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time we are here with Dustin and David of the almighty Filth. It is so great to have you here. Thanks for being on the show today.
What's up? Oh yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, it's an honor to have you all here. Southern Hostility. I mean, what I love it when a band creates something and they name it something that it sounds exactly like Southern Hostility. Like if I listened to the album not knowing what the title was, I would just instantly call it that because it feels hostile. It has a Southern vibe behind it, and with tracks such as Martyr, for example, it is an absolute killer beast. Was there sort of a vision behind this? And we'll actually start off with this question, actually. Do you feel that the singles we did here so far, such as Southern Hostility and Martyr, for example, is maybe a good representation of this whole album, or is that just one little taste of what to expect on the whole thing?
That's just a little taste of what to expect. I think it's the most diverse thing we've done, in my opinion. We've got a bunch of different sounds, a bunch of stuff that we grew up listening to that we try to incorporate on this. Yeah, those two are definitely just a taste of what's to come. I mean, don't get me wrong, Southern Hostility has a lot of the vibe of the album in it. But, I mean, like Stay Gutter and Check and Steaming Shoes and stuff like that, a lot of the upcoming tracks, they definitely have more of a darker nu metal, like hip-hop-y vibe to them. Very heavy. Kind of to keep the same core sound that Filth has, but just expanded, I guess.
Yeah, and diversity is definitely something that I definitely hear on this album in a way, with the way that it moves all around, and you mentioned all these different aspects. Was that sort of like the vision that you had in mind, or did it kind of just sort of turn out that way?
We really essentially just went into the studio, and we went to Greg at Chop Harder Studios because of just how he likes to write and everything and how he produces. And we went into the studio with the idea of like, let's kind of write some stuff that felt like it came from what we grew up on listening to. The kind of stuff that, for instance, Limp Bizkit's my favorite band to this day. So, they influenced a lot of how I write and stuff like that. So it was, instead of just writing a heavy album, be heavy, it was like, hey, let's just, try to have some fun with this album and write some stuff that we really, really enjoy. And that's kind of just how it kind of just came about that way.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to like the whole idea, because you mentioned you all have different inspirations and all these different influences. So when a band tells me, like when I ask how the making of an album is, and the band tells me we all mutually came together and it was all such a, everybody agreed on everything, I don't buy that for a second. I think if you're in a band with 4 to 5 other people with different influences, you're all going to have different ideas and different. But do you think that maybe actually helps enhance the sound of Filth in a way?
Yeah, I would agree. We definitely all have different influences. We definitely didn't agree on everything that come out. I'd be writing a riff and somebody'd be like, "Yo, that's garbage." So I mean, we're pretty honest with each other. Everybody, we would pass around and try to come up with different ideas and stuff like that. There was definitely moments in the studio where it was like, sucks. Yeah. There was some tense moments, but for the most part, everybody had a good time. But there was a few flared up times there, where it was just like, get the hell out of here and leave me alone.
Well, hey, in order to create Southern Hostility, you needed to create Southern Honesty, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There had to be some tension and some anger.
Now, on the topic of hardcore, because one emphasis on hardcore is obviously the lyrical subject matter and the messaging and all that involved with it. So, Dustin, was there sort of like, when it came to the lyrical ideas, did maybe lyrics help guide the sound itself in a way? Or have you needed the music before you knew what the material was going to be about?
Well, sometimes I will write ahead of time. But it was kind of half and half.
Yeah.
Well, in that recording process, it's like I write some things, and then we'd go in and write a song, and then I'd be piecing together ideas while they were writing instruments, and then I don't know. Most of the album is just like pissed off at everything going on around us.
Yeah.
Well, I thought with a diverse sounding album, do you feel that maybe there's different lyrical subject matters that's incorporated in there as well? Do you think that maybe this sounds like this, we should sing about this sounds like that, maybe I want to bring in this sort of subject matter?
Definitely so. It's hard to say because the album it is a lot of rage, I guess it's placed differently. Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
There was definitely some inspiration from lyrics. You know, he would have some stuff wrote out. He'd pass it along to me. I'd look over it, and it would definitely help with the idea of the vibe of what the track we were going for. I guess, you know, as we wrote and progressed, you know, I could see where he was coming from, and it kind of helped me vibe when I started writing riffs for guitar and everything.
Mm-hmm. And you know, this is maybe a very deep question that I asked, but like when rage, I've asked a lot of hardcore musicians this and people who play like black metal and death metal and all this, like it's cool to have like the darkness, you know, as the fuel to your fire, but I've always said that sometimes artists can become like victimized by their own product in that regard, where like sometimes you could become so consumed by rage that it's not even about composition anymore. You lose yourself in that process. So is there an art to managing your rage, especially with a hardcore band where rage is pretty much the sound? So is there sort of an art to managing that sort of darkness and that sort of rage in order to not, you know, lose yourself in the creative process?
I would have to say, yeah. I mean, you've got I mean, you know, you sit in a, you know, darkly lit room for 8 to 10 hours a day. You're constantly, you know, hashing ideas, working on stuff. You can definitely end up in a very dark-minded spot and feel, you know, I guess beaten and gloomy when you leave. I mean, if that makes sense, you know, you walk out of it sometimes and it's just like, I am exhausted. I am mentally exhausted. I don't feel good. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things. It works on you a little bit. So then you kind of have to try to have a little bit of fun, bring yourself back up, listen to the music, you know, a day later, and, you know, and try to just refill the excitement that you had while you were doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Before you hit that we've been in here too long mark.
Yeah. And Dustin too, because like with that rage and being the lyricist where it's not just expressing it through your voice, but it's also, you know, saying what you have to say. I've always said it's like, you know, you surround yourself with so much negativity all the time in order to know what to write about. So like how do you sort of like address what you want to address in that?
Well, a lot on this one was a little bit different. But our older stuff, it was a lot of very personal experiences. So it was draining at times, like negatively on me. But this stuff, I don't know, it really was fun just to almost to rant, you know.
It was just this album in particular was just a good outlet for everybody. We were able to get out a lot of stuff that we felt, you know, we were able to. There's a lot of expression of everybody in it. You know, it wasn't just so much, you know, the grueling process of let's try to write heavy riff after heavy riff after heavy riff. You know, the first couple albums were super tedious, like very tedious, I mean, there was some real rough nights with those. Yeah. You know, so this one wasn't fun. There's a lot more fun involved, but we were able to let loose and get a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that when you listen to these tracks, there is fun to be had with the album because, I mean, let's be real, this is hardcore and we love it. You know, I'm a hardcore kid, but I think we can all agree, and I've talked to hardcore veterans, like I've interviewed Agnostic Front and all those guys, and I think we can all agree there are times where hardcore takes itself a little too seriously, right? Am I wrong?
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. And you mentioned riffs, David. So I got to ask you this because a lot of times when I ask how a song starts, a lot of people say, "Oh, it usually starts off with a riff," and I get it. But do you think we'll ever run out of riffs one day?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure at some point in time we're going to hit that. I mean, the amount of bands that are out here riffing constantly all the time. Shoo. But, I mean, I guess that's why multi-scale guitars and larger things have come into play. That's why I play a variety of different, you know, guitars. So I can, you know, try different things. And, I mean, heck, if I'm playing a riff on a 7-string and then I pick up my 9-string, I can play that same riff. You know. Yeah. So, but I think one day we may hit a plateau where it's like everything has been used up. What are we doing?
You're going to see a lot of hardcore and metal bands starting to use the harp at that point.
Yeah. Who knows, man? We may bring in a saxophone. You never know.
Hey, then Filth will become ska, and we need I think with the revamping of hardcore music, we need a new ska era now as well. Like
that would be awesome.
Because
I'm about
what
about it.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's make it happen. I mean, the last real, and this could just be being a little on the ignorant side, but like The Urge is really like one of the last few like ska bands that I could think of off the top of my head if we can bring back like a new age 311 or even like No Doubt or something like that.
Woo! That'd be awesome.
Yep, of course.
Talk about taking me back to my youth, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. I'm willing to bet one of the new age hardcore bands that we're seeing right now, somebody is going to emerge as the new Gwen Stefani.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there.
It could happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's no doubt of that. I see what you did there. But depending on what the song is about, depending on its subject matter, could that maybe feel like you do channel a different energy or maybe just express a completely different side of Filth that would come from that, depending on what the material is?
I'd say like different energy because I'm trying to think. Trying to think of like songs, like some of the songs off the album.
Well, I mean, there's a different energy between. Like we're looking at Glass House and Cement Shoes.
Yeah,
you got two totally different subject matters.
They feel completely different, I guess. I mean, I don't know the wording, but they feel they're vastly different from each other.
Yeah, because I guess Glass House kind of is like the older style of like Filth, in my opinion.
Yeah, darker, very personal, to experiences that one of us in the band may have had, And
then Cement Shoes is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Like, you never judge a book by its cover, never judge a book by its title or something like that. But with you guys, I could judge it by its title. Like, again, your wording sounds exactly what it's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it took us, we went through a lot of album titles for this specific album before we finally settled on Southern Hostility. And when it was Dustin, when it came out of his mouth, everybody was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this album feels like.
Do people, whether it be in the press though, or people like assume that there was some reference towards Pantera there or something like that? Because
no, we've had a few people. Nobody's mentioned the titles like that, but we've had a few people recently being like, man, there's some definitely some feel of Pantera in this new stuff. Maybe that's what they're talking about. I'm just kind of associating to, the aggressiveness of the music, but
yeah,
maybe they are associated with the title, which would be pretty cool for me. I mean,
great solution.
Yeah.
And for the last portion of this interview, I want to ask one of my favorite topics, because in the end, we're all labeled hardcore, right? And I think, I would definitely consider Filth to be hardcore. I think you guys really do hit the nail on the head. I think you have everything from the modern days of hardcore that we love to really paying tribute to the old stuff. But I've always said that hardcore is just as much of an adjective as it is a noun. There's, I've heard many bands be called hardcore that are not even metal. Like, how many times have we heard hip hop artists say, man, they're so hardcore? So what do you think would make something exactly hardcore?
Oh, man.
That's where you pin the question on each other and be like, you answer this one.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I guess this is realness and authenticity, though.
Sorry?
Yeah.
This is realness and authenticity.
Yeah.
Like, if you can hear what somebody's saying, and if they can convey that the right way, they convey it the right way, and it means something. It's not just pointless nonsense.
Yeah, you can feel it in the music.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like the aggressiveness of it, the style of writing, and I think it's just the feel of the music that makes it hardcore for me. The riffs, how aggressive it is, the drums and everything. And that's what feels hardcore to me.
Do you feel like the big distinction between hardcore and metal is really just because I never understood how like a Slayer fan couldn't appreciate Cro-Mags. I couldn't understand how a Sick of It All a fan couldn't appreciate Anthrax. You know what I mean? They're both loud, aggressive forms of music. But I would say that I think the big difference is metal could kind of sing about anything. Personal love, Satan, dragons, you name it.
Yeah.
But hardcore, it's really just talking about the now and really just stuff that we all kind of, I guess hardcore is a little more relatable.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely more relatable. It's more personal. There's more, like Dustin said, there's more authenticity to it. It feels more,
Like it's coming from somebody from inside, the aggressiveness of it, something somebody's been through, as opposed to like metal can be, like you said, literally anything they want to write about, fiction, nonfiction, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like if we divided it, like hardcore would be in the nonfiction section or the documentary section in a way.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you are right. You don't see any hardcore musicians going about, this song is about knights enslaving dragons. Let's go. Like, like
no, we don't.
Yeah. So this is a love song. Let's fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
One day,
you don't see that. But.
One day, people's heads will melt when that happens.
and we may get to that point because
people may get tired of writing about personal stuff. Music's getting very, creative, experimental right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got the idea from here. Just make sure you thank me in the liner notes.
I like it.
So before we go, I want to thank you both so much for your time today. But most of all, thank you for this amazing music that you've been giving us. It's absolutely kick-ass, and I can't wait for the rest of the world to hear it. Just with the release of Southern Hostility, any shows or tours coming up that you'd like to promote or what else we could be expecting, please tell me that there's maybe a New York show somewhere down the line.
There is, yeah. We've got so we have 3 album release tours coming up. The first one is in April. It's a southeast tour: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. May we're doing a Midwest tour: Texas, Ohio. I mean, it covers the entire. It's almost 3 weeks across the Midwest, and then the third one is in June and July. It's Northeast, yeah. And there's a New York City show, a Long Island show. That one will have Awakened Providence out with us.
Oh wow!
9 Day Product Wasteland. So all three of them, the lineups are stacked. If we're hitting any of those areas, it'd be amazing for anybody to come out, support the bands, stuff like that. You can hit our Facebook or any of our socials. You can find ticket links. You can find the flyers and stuff like that. We have a tour coming up in August that we can't talk about yet, but it involves around Michigan Metal Fest and stuff. So we got a lot in the works. We appreciate everybody that's bumping new stuff. We can't wait for everybody to hear about.
Yeah, I can't wait for more people to hear this. Again, this is an album where like you can be listening to it at home alone in your apartment and it would still feel like you just got out of the pit when you're done listening to it. So it brings the pit to you. It opens up the pit just by when you turn it on. So but
agreed.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Filth, Southern Hostility. Be sure to check that out. This is Alex from Heaven, New York, and we will see you next time.
Thank you guys. Take care.